Hello YouTube, this is Total War Seraphim bringing you another friendly replay. We got a special treat today. I'm joined by Juju Bear.
Hey guys, Juju Bear here. Pleasure to join you as usual. Let's get this started.
Alright Juju, I'm going to go into my own build here. I've chosen the Galatia. This is my go-to team. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they remind me of Rome. Maybe just because they're beautiful. I don't know. But let me get into the build here. So up front here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Levy Freemen. I've got, for the Sword Corps, I've got 4 Galatian Legionaries. These guys are absolutely tanks. And behind them, I've brought 4 Naked Swords for purposes I'll discuss later. To back them up on the skirmishing front, I've brought 3 mercenary Syrian archers in the back here. And out on the flanks, or the far flanks, on the right flank I have a Galatian Raider, and on the far left flank I have a Galatian Raider. My general is going to be this noble horse, since I felt I needed a little bit of power. You want to take over Schulversager's Getae army, please, Juju?
Yeah, man, all over it. So the Getae player has brought 2 spear horsemen. Very interesting formation. I'm not really sure why he's gone ahead and done that. He might be trying to just disguise how many units, or make himself seem less opposing, possibly. But he's got 2 of these spear horsemen on his left flank, 2 folksmen, 2 bow horsemen. His general is a noble sword. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them in total on this left flank. He's got 2 Dacian heavy skirmishers, 2 spear warriors, and that completes the left wing. Now, out on his right wing, he's also got a fairly similar story: 2 folksmen, 2 spear horsemen, 2 bow horsemen. So a pretty mobile army. He seems to be maybe hoping to kite a little bit with his bow horsemen. I mean, he doesn't really have a lot of long-range skirmishing power. Just in these Dacian heavy skirmishes, these guys will be pretty punishing. But whether or not he'll be able to use them is another story. Shall we get this going?
Yeah, let's please do. You want to count us down?
Yep. 3, 2, 1, go. So run us through the tactics of your build there, the Galatian build.
Well, I love bringing these Galatian Raiders. I did not count on the bow horse, and you can see out here on my left flank that I'm already moving to engage the Galatian Raiders, but I'm thinking twice because I see the bow horse, and in my opinion, with the heavy shot of the bow horse, it's just it's no contest whatsoever. So I think that in this instance, the Galatian Raiders were a poor decision. You can see I'm pulling them back. Have you had much experience with bow horsemen?
Yeah, to be honest, they're pretty amazing. I only just realized I've got 3 missile damage, so they actually outdamage your Galatian Raiders, and they also outrange skirmishers, Galatian Raiders as well. So pretty far. Imagine you're also outnumbered, so probably a wise decision to be pulling them back at this point. Yeah. What do you make of your opponent's formation? How he's formed up pretty tightly packed on the left and very far away on the right.
It's very interesting. In truth, it confuses me too, because my army is central, and I want to fight a central battle. And so when he does this, it kind of makes me wonder, do I need to form separate flanks? And if I need to form a separate left and right flank, what units go where? As such, I mean, on his left flank, you can see he has the noble sword general. He's got 2 other noble swords there. So I mean, that is the power side, where this right side seems to be a little bit more just a bit of a nuisance. So here you can see I'm shifting right to try to match him, but my Galatian raiders are just getting chewed up. I have no chance in this. Every time the bow horsemen pull away, I just take more and more losses.
Yeah.
So how do you like my chances in this so far? I mean, it's early on, but
absolutely. I mean, I don't really. This player seems to be quite good and seems to be quite confident with this kind of formation. I mean, what I'm thinking he may be doing with this left wing is, again, using it as that power wing, his killing force, and then maybe closing the door with his right wing and bringing them into the flank and the rear of your formation there. So, I mean, I can see how it may work out, but whether it will is another story. As you said before, you would rather fight as one cohesive unit, and I mean, you'll probably have to try and refuse your opponent from pulling your formation apart. But looks like your Levy Freeman are probably going to be a pretty good bet up against the bow horsemen, just pushing them back, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's
really have an answer to those bow horsemen, really.
Agreed. Out here, you see, he's going to take a spearman into my spaghetti lines, and I get a jav toss off, but that Levy Freeman drops about 10 men, so it wasn't a terrible loss. But then he's followed up by these Dacian heavy skirmishers right into my Levy Freeman.
Yeah.
Absolutely surprised me, and my Levy Freeman are dropping quite quickly, actually. So I was quite surprised.
How cost effective that would be, though, because those units are very expensive, and to be throwing them away this early in the match seems to be a bit of a suicide ploy.
Yes, until he brings in this noble horseman, right? It's like a match of who's going to bring in the heavier infantry first. And here I am bringing my Galatian legionaries into this battle, but now they've lost their charge, and then he charges his noble swords, so they get a charge. I don't.
Yeah.
So, in a way, he used them essentially as Levy Freemen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And they may be able to hold up. Those units have some fairly good armor and that kind of thing, and they could stand up to melee, a lot of melee units in the game, but it looks like they're being pushed back with 51 kills on one of them, and I don't think the other one got too many kills either, so I don't see that as being very cost effective, do you?
No, I don't. And here I was hoping with my mercenary Cappadocians to kind of even the score with some rear charges into the backs of his general here, the noble swords, and I was quite happy to get this rear charge, but you can see the battle itself is spread all over the field, and he has some his bow horsemen out here on the flanks shooting into the backs of my men in heavy shot, and that is absolutely punishing the Getae, the bow horsemen. I cannot understate how much I appreciate them for the simple fact that they can, their mobility and their ability to cause damage to the rear of units.
They're not even that expensive, though, are they? They're only like 420 talons or something like that.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty good investment.
Yeah, definitely. Do you see again now? What do you make of the battle at this point? I'm curious to see your reaction, because frankly it's been a while since I've seen this replay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you've used your main troops fairly well, like the Galatian Legionnaires, getting them into pretty good engagements. But I don't know, both sides have kind of misused their support units. The Levy Freemen are being knocked down, as you said before, in spaghetti lines by spear horsemen and just taken out of the fight. And also your naked swords have been open to a couple of charges from his cavalry as well. So his cav's been quite busy. But that said, you've been pretty good at getting your Cappadocians into some of his lighter units as well. So I noticed he got some really nice charges into his Folksmen and took those units out of the fight. So I mean, it goes both ways at the moment. The big thing though is you've been able to save your mercenary Syrians. They haven't been threatened at all. You've got a lot of cav left over to defend them. So I mean, do you see? It's hard talking about this because you've already played the match, but do you reckon this kind of increases your chances in the end game by keeping your mercenary Syrians alive?
I think, at the time I was thinking, I was hoping so. I'm desperately trying to knock this noble sword out, and at the time I do remember that I wasn't familiar with the noble sword, so I was shocked at how brutal they can be. I thought the Cappadocian rear charge would have knocked them out for sure. And they stood up to it quite well, and so now I'm bringing in naked swords and mercenary Cappadocians into these noble swords, and they're just not dropping in the way I expect.
Absolutely. Yeah. They are. I think they're pretty essential to the Getae build. Like usually with pretty much every single Getae build, they're going to have at least 4, I reckon. Just as like some kind of backbone to back up the Axe Warriors.
I agree.
But interestingly enough, he didn't actually bring any Axe Warriors. He just kind of brought a lot of Folksmen, a lot of noble swords, and that mobility of those horsemen is starting to pay. He's managed to get into a couple of your Syrians now, and these Folksmen are on the way as well.
Yeah, and this is another bad habit I have is that I turn off skirmish mode on my archers just so that they can't be pushed back from feints, but then I forget about them inevitably. I brought these naked swords with the total concept of repeatedly rear charging, bringing them in and out against heavier melee units. But these bow horsemen are just absolutely shooting the hell out of the backs of my Galatian legionaries out here, if you can see this.
Yeah.
And
at the moment, I think they've already dealt with 2 of them.
Yeah.
So pretty good use of those bow horsemen.
Unbelievable. And I have his general wavering, but it's cost me quite a bit. And there I disengaged and he stabilized. So, I was really at a loss for words at this point. I thought I had this game in the bag. I really did.
Yeah. So that's where it's like, especially against games that are, or armies that are good at kiting. So you're playing against like maybe Parthia or Armenia, you can kind of win all the main engagements. But if they still have all of their mobility and a couple of different units left on the field by the late game, it's super dangerous. Because look what's happening here. We've got bow horsemen just finishing off the last bits and pieces of your army there, and the Syrians are starting to get destroyed now as well. But absolutely amazing use of those bow horsemen. But as he said, those Galatian legionnaires, they were just caught out in the wrong spot at the wrong time with their backs to the wrong unit.
And I was really impressed with the Getae players' ability to use those to use the bow horsemen and the power there. And so here we can see the end of the battle. I lost what I felt was surely a game that I had won. I really thought about mid game that I had definitely taken it. You mind if I go over my own units?
Go for it, man.
Okay, so the noble horse general had 147 kills. I was actually quite proud of that. The Galatian Raiders 64-80, which is really nothing to sneeze at considering how outclassed they were by the bow horsemen. The mercenary Cappadocians 168, 214 with the rear charges. My mercenary Syrian archers 4, 26, 21. I think those were my real failings, especially that one with 4. I just wasn't able to bring it into the fight soon enough or quick enough or on the right target. The Galatian legionaries 107, 128, 62. Undoubtedly one of the ones that was shot in the back and taken out of the game quite quickly. Levy Freeman 1 kill, so not even a jav toss apparently. 61, 20, 21. The naked swords again, 17, 73, 153 for some, 111 for others. My idea of recharging the infantry worked to some extent, but because of his disjointed formation, I wasn't able to pull the tactics I wanted to, and that's just how it goes. You want to go over Schulversager's build?
Yep. So we got double XP chevrons on the Noble Sword General. Pretty amazing stuff. 350 kills. I think a lot of that was on, Galatian Legionnaires and Naked Swords. So definitely had a very nice, favorable engagement there. The Spear Horseman, again, just being crucial at running around as a big nuisance to you and your back lines. A lot of the Levy Freemen were taken out of the fight before they could have a good, support different fights, that kind of thing. The Bow Horsemen, MVPs of the match. Honestly, those guys were running around just taking out. I'm surprised they didn't get any XP chevrons there, because a lot of those kills were on those very expensive Galatian Legionnaires and getting into very expensive Syrian archers as well. That's very surprising to see no XP chevrons there. These are heavy skirmishers. I think I like the idea of them destroying meat shield units in melee, but I can't get over the fact that using a unit like this, a skirmishing unit like this, and killing them off without even using their javelins, like that's what you get them for. It just feels like a waste of javelins, precious javelins, So 69, 26 kills, not too bad. Noble Swords, the rest of them did amazing. I think they were just in engagements that worked well for them. I have to say, I don't know if you don't mind me saying this, but I think a lot of your units were kind of clumping together there on the pointy end of these Noble Swords. And I think they it worked for them a lot, especially being in combat with Naked Swords who didn't get the charge. They really excelled in that kind of position as well. So the Folksmen, again, I believe they were misused. Like, they didn't get the best charge. They didn't get around the flanks. They were unsupported against Cav. So not really used in the best way. These Spear Warriors actually did a great job at holding up your Galatian Legionnaires while the Bow Horsemen shot them in the back. And I think they kind of brought them down to about half strength at one point. So all in all, that Getae build was pretty nice. I like the idea behind it, and whether he kind of executed his plan or not is, it looked like he did. It definitely looked like it worked. What he was doing with a strong hand and then a flanking force. But yeah, he kind of didn't have enough units to protect his rear, and he was getting rear charged. The living daylights out of him. You with your Cappadocian Cav just slamming into the back of him time after time. Even with the Naked Swords getting into the rear, it was just, a lot of punishing charges that didn't really pay off on those Noble Swords. But I don't know. What do you think about the eventual tactics that played out?
I think that the initial setup was one which I was not prepared at all to deal with. I was prepared for straight up engagement. To bring in the Galatian Legionaries to deal with the Noble Swords, which are outclassed to begin with. But I thought that the repeated rear charges, charging in the Naked Swords, retreating them, then charging them back in, might be able to even the odds. But in this instance, looking at my Cappadocians with 214 kills, 168 kills, like you said, the rear charges I thought for sure would have ended any unit, really any melee unit. Caught between a rock and a hard place, and they didn't, and I was dramatically surprised that they did not. I want to say that this was a fantastic game in that it totally took away my preparedness and my ability to deal with what I thought would be a conventional battle, and it just goes to show you just how odd different formations can be. Which I do hope to show you in an upcoming video. I did learn from this battle very much.
I'd be happy to jump into another couple of battles with you. I know you had a couple of games against this one player, Schulversager, so I guess we'll be seeing a couple more. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'd be honored to be joined by you, Juju Bear.
Cool, well, I'll see you next time.
Absolutely.